Hello, welcome to the final part of 1968. I decided that it's best to try to compress everything into the video instead of trying to do a video for each 2 or 3 months. That would take way too long, and I don't want to drag this series on for too long. I ended last video with March of 1968, so I was trying to get everything from April all the way to the end of the year, this video. But before I go on talking about each month, no doubt one of the big contributions from 1968 is Jim Steranko. I have shown many things from Jim in many other videos, but the Steranko, came on the scene in '67, and he did mostly the work in the Strange Tales series. But in '68, he was able to launch Nick Fury on his own, as well as work on the X-Men. No doubt, we wish he stayed longer, but he left shortly in the early part of 1969. So 1968 is probably the best year for Steranko fan, because he worked on Nick Fury. Even though he only drew a couple issues, he did the covers for a bunch of them, and then he worked on the covers for of course Captain America, as well as did a couple issues of X-Men. Most notably, the introduction of Polaris. No doubt one of the mutants that I felt was extremely underutilized. If there was 2 mutants I really enjoyed and wish Marvel figured out a way to work them in, is Polaris, and the other one is Sunfire. But I definitely want to say that little piece about Steranko, so that it's not to be missed, that I don't give him enough spotlight in 1968, but he is the man in 1968 for Marvel. For DC, of course, you have Neil Adams. As far as Neil Adams and DC, I can't say that I am a historian of DC that much. For a long time, like many people, I was a Marvel zombie. So I collect mostly Marvel, and then as far as DC, I only started to collect the war titles, as well as Neil Adams covers. But certainly not enough for me to understand anything significant going on. I used to own a Green Lantern issue where Guy Gardner was introduced in 1968. So to me, that's also a fairly important milestone for DC in 1968, is the intro of Guy Gardner as Green Lantern. But other than that, I can't say that I know enough about DC to talk about other significant milestones. So for me, it is mostly about Neil Adams, and I have shown quite a lot of the Neil Adams cover. So for sure, one of the things that Neil drew very well in 1968 was all of the House of Mystery. I'm pretty sure I've shown these before some other time, but as you can see, just about every House of Mystery cover that he drew was just gorgeous. So tough to find in high grades. I have most of them, and they all beat up reader's copy, but I'm telling you, if you are a fan of Neil Adams, you know what I'm talking about. His House of Mysteries, in 1968, all of the covers are just mind-blowing, okay? And then on top of that, I have shown 1 or 2 other issues. He did a ton of awesome Strange Adventures for the rest of the year, and of course, you have these books. I'm pretty sure I've shown this book because I'm pretty sure he did. But this one, I have not. Here's another one of those gorgeous covers. The first time I saw this cover, I didn't realize the face of that man in the background is so beautiful. It's one of those few covers where it actually looked better far away or not close up, because then you can see the image of that man screaming right here. You can see, beautiful. I'll give you a close-up look later, okay? And of course, Neil Adams did this incredible, one of my all-time favorite Brave and the Bold covers. Also, look at that, Put That Man, gorgeous. I have shown this book before. So, for those that love Neil Adams, some of my favorite covers of 1968 I do not have. They are the Tomahawk. So, if you know the Tomahawk DC series, they contain some of the most beautiful Western covers that Neil Adams did. I don't own any of them, or I would have shown you, but to me, those are hidden gems of DC covers in 1968. As far as Marvel, wow, what can you say about Marvel from May, through the end of the year? But of course, right off the bat, the launching of the Silver Surfer. This was a huge milestone to have his origin and to have his own title. Took me a long time to obtain this copy, and this was my birthday gift to myself last year, for those that watch my videos. I love this book. In fact, I love the origin, and it kind of bummed me out years later reading the controversy that surrounded the launching of this book, because apparently, Jack Kirby was not a big fan of giving the Silver Surfer an origin. I guess he preferred to keep it a mystery, and it's kind of it's a bummer that Jack was not involved in the creation of this story along with Stan Lee. But personally, for me, I thoroughly enjoyed this book from the first time I saw the reprints in one of those fireside books in the library back in middle school. John Buscema is the man as far as the artists that draw the Silver Surfer for me. Whenever I look at a Silver Surfer character, it's hard for anyone to top the image that John Buscema was able to put down on paper for this character. So it has always been a big dream of mine to own a piece of original art. They are way crazy prices, so it's a dream to own a piece of original art from John Buscema doing the Silver Surfer. So you had this big launch of this title, and then as far as minor launches, there's an interesting launch in Daredevil of this character, the Chester. I always felt that he was way underutilized as far as a villain for Daredevil. From the first time I saw him and the multiple appearances that he showed up in Daredevil from the Silver Age, I just didn't think the writer did justice for him, because to me, he has the potential to be the Joker before the Joker was cool. Okay, at this point of DC, the Joker was not the dark Joker that we know today. So with this character, the Chester, I'm not sure what if Marvel was trying to copycat the Joker from DC and pair him with Daredevil, but to me he was very underutilized and wrongly utilized. But I thought that was one of the better villains that was introduced for Daredevil in 1968. Okay, in that same month, Marvel launched this book, Avenger 54. And of course, the very next month, you have 55. Maybe it was not, highly regarded back then. It's hard for me to say because I read this story, and from the very first time I read it, I enjoyed it. I found Ultron to be really, really cool with his look. That's what makes a great villain. You gotta have a cool look or cool name, cool power. So he has it all, as far as the name, the look, the power. So it's surprising to me that this villain, Ultron, was not even worth mentioning in Overstreet Guide for the next 30 plus years. His first appearance in Origin was never mentioned, even though he reappeared in multiple occasions fighting the Avengers in the next 30-40 years. So it's shocking to me that he didn't get his due until the last 5 or 6 years, up until I think 8 years ago. Even in the Overstreet Guide, it was not mentioned as far as the origin of Ultron. So here you have a very significant introduction of a villain that has been, at the thorn of the Avengers for many decades. And of course, you have followed that, you have this. Just 2 months later, you have this launch, this introduction of perhaps, well, it is my favorite Avengers. So these two books came out in July, August of 1968. Unbelievable. Fantastic. I mean, I can tell you, I reread these two books multiple times and they stood the test of time. They are so wonderfully, the story are wonderful, the art are just majestic. I definitely will showcase these two books in one of those videos about multiple storylines down the road, so I will save that. But what an introduction. Amazing. Okay, regardless of why Roy Thomas introduced him or reuse him from an older character, doesn't matter. Vision is awesome. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person that can say that he's one of my favorite Avengers member of all time. The look, everything about him is just so cool. His personality, his power, the looks, but right there, as you can see. Amazing thing was going on with the Avengers, okay? No doubt one of the more significant year for the title Avengers, and there's many other things that's going on with multiple Marvel titles, like things from the Fantastic Four to Captain America. Like I said, I can spend way too much time talking about every title, every issue, but no doubt in my mind, many of the books that I love as far as Silver Age came from 1968. No doubt in my mind. But before I go, perhaps one of the coolest thing that happened at the end of 1968 is this book, okay? X-Men 53. Why is this special? Why is this book special? This one is pretty cool. It has a date stamp right here, as you can see. December 5th, 1968. It brought us Barry Windsor Smith. This is his first work. So we ended the year 1968 with the entrance of perhaps one of the most recognizable, famous, loved artists of the Bronze Age. For the next 5 years, he will lit the comic world on fire with his skills, and for many years after that. But Barry Windsor Smith made his intro in December of 1968. So that is it, my friends. I hope you enjoyed the series. Oh, before I go, there is one DC war books. There are so many wonderful DC war books in 1968 with great Joe Kubert covers, but there is one that I can say is my favorite. Okay, this one, hands down, is my favorite. The purple on this book is insanely beautiful. I would definitely give you a close-up look to this book, but that's it. I will close this series with my thoughts that, to me, 1968 is a wonderful time to be a collector. And if I was buying the books off the rack in 1968, there is no disappointment for me. None whatsoever. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Bye. So here's a close-up look on some of the books. I will definitely do a separate series to showcase this run by Neil Adams, but for now I can give you a look of this book. Gorgeous, razor sharp, perfectly centered, beautiful book. And the art inside is incredible. The Call from Beyond. I believe Neil Adams inked the interior also, as far as penciling and inking. But look at this. For those that are big Neil Adams fan and do not have this, you can buy the reprint in Baxter Papers in the early 80s or mid 80s, I believe. DC did reprint this series in the mid 80s that was reprinted on Baxter paper, and they are beautiful, just like the way they reprinted the Green Lantern, Green Arrow series. But Neil Adams was so ahead of his time as far as panels design. He broke away from the mold that everybody was using, trying to divide up the page into 4 panels or 6 or 9. He has no problem going outside the box here. Look at this. Gorgeous. I love that man. I wish DC can do more with him. But let's see. Just look at this double page. Gorgeous. Incredible. And you're talking about, this is mid 1968. He's barely in the business, less than 1 year. Okay, so wow, I can't imagine what it's like to flip through this book in 1968 and see that kind of drawing. And here is my favorite DC war covers. Not an easy thing for me to say, but it took me a long time to hunt down the right copies. And boy, this one have a slight wear here on the edge, but outside of that, gorgeous, perfectly centered. Just a few things on the spine, but gorgeous, beautiful gloss, beautiful drawing by Joe Kubert. And of course he also did the inside also. But the day of me hunting down this book is long gone, because I found the perfect copy. Anyhow, that's it, and thanks for watching.